Welcome to episode 41 of After the Breach podcast. We're your hosts, Jeff and Sarah, after a very long day. Ahoy, Sarah.
Hi, Jeff.
This is going to be interesting. This is going to be fun. It's just Sarah and I today. She's very giggly and
A little sunburned, even though it was cloudy out. Somehow I got sun on the water. I'm a little loopy.
she had a long day today. But we are here to tell some March whale stories from our sightings in March. And I will start by pointing out Monica at Orca Behavior Institute had a Facebook post, I think it was yesterday, and wondering, is 2025 going to be the year of the Biggs killer whale, insinuating that this could be the year that we have Biggs killer whales sighted in the Salish Sea every single day of the year.
Yeah, I think we always hope it, every year is going to be that year, but why not this year?
But they're growing in numbers. Mm-hmm. Their presence is growing. I mean, I remember it used to be that, sometime in March we'd start seeing more and more of them. But this year we had Biggs killer whales on almost 90% of our tours in March. Those numbers have been increasing year over year. And so March is becoming an amazing time to go whale watching and see killer whales, and much better now than I think for sure like 10 years ago.
Yeah. What were our numbers for this March? 89%?
Yeah, it was just under 90%.
Wow.
Yeah. Amazing. And, so far we're very early in April, but so far we're 100% in April, but April is going to be another great month. I mean, it's just, it really is. When people ask what the best time of year is to come see killer whales, it's whenever you want to come out here, because they really are here pretty much every day. We're able to find some group, and many days. The amazing thing about March this year, there were multiple groups. It wasn't just, we have a sighting. There were groups all over the place. But I really want to tell some stories, because there were a few standout stories from some of the whales that were here that we saw. And I want to start with the 46Bs, because you saw them before I did. You saw them, the brand new calf, and when you saw them with the calf, it was probably just a few days old.
Yeah, first seen March 20th, and I think I saw it March 22nd, that Saturday.
Wow. And yeah, I didn't see it until this past week.
But still tiny.
Tiny.
And lots of, the fetal folds are still very visible.
Very visible. Still has lots of fetal folds. So very cute, tucked right next to mom. Why don't you tell us a little bit about the new calf, the 46Bs, and then one of the cool things about this is the greater family, the 46s, are one of the most, if not the most storied family that we have out here. And it's a story we tell every time we see any member of the 46s.
And there are a lot of them.
And there are a lot.
Yeah. So this new calf.
And there were almost none.
So this new calf is officially, I think, has its designation now as T46B3A. So it is the first offspring of T46B3, Sedna. And she is the third daughter of T46B Raksha, who is the second confirmed offspring of a whale known as T46 Wake. And she passed away a couple years ago now, but is an amazing whale.
T46.
Yes, T46
it was
did
2 years or 3?
Yeah, 2 years, I think. Yeah. I think. An amazing whale. I still talk about her all the time. She's just incredible. And she has an incredible story here in Washington. And I mean, in the region, of course, but Washington State in particular, she really kind of has a hold on the history of killer whales here in the state.
Absolutely. And she shows, regardless of what species, she shows how one individual can make a huge difference in a population by their survival.
Right. So T46 Wake was one of 6 whales known infamously as the Bud Inlet 6. So in early 1976, the last capture to take place in Washington waters happened in Bud Inlet. 6 Biggs killer whales were rounded up, T46 being one of them. And as it so happened, at this time, there was a whale conference happening at Evergreen State College, which was just, a few miles away from Bud Inlet, down near Olympia. So this capture that was taking place was, highly witnessed, right? People were coming out and they saw what was happening. And one of those people was, at the time, the governor's assistant, and that was Ralph Monroe. He'd later become our Washington Secretary of State, and really like an advocate for killer whales in the state for the rest of his life.
Yeah, this made him a legend and a hero.
Yeah,
and set up his legacy and the legacy of the 46s.
Mm-hmm. So these 6 whales were rounded up. They used boats, planes, explosives, and that'll come into play later. And they were rounded up by Don Goldsberry, who was SeaWorld's collector of killer whales for their parks. So as soon as they were captured, they were destined to head to one of those parks or be sold. And that conference that was happening, the main theme of that was, should live captures still be happening in Washington waters? Like what's going on here? Because we've realized now in the last few years that there aren't as many killer whales as we thought there were. Canada first hired Dr. Michael Bigg to do a census of killer whales. He was the one that figured out we can tell individual killer whales apart by their saddle patches and their dorsal fins. And his census said, there's not thousands of killer whales that we thought, were here. There's a couple hundred. And of course, America was like, well, you're Canadian, we're going to get our own guy to do it. And they hired Ken Balcombe. And Ken Balcombe, who would later found Center for Whale Research, who was also an orca advocate and hero for them for his entire life, found the same thing. There's not thousands of killer whales in Washington waters. That there are.
We didn't even know. I mean, they're the ones that realized that there were different populations. I mean,
right.
back then
We just didn't even know that.
Yeah, a killer whale is a killer whale.
Right. So that was the theme of that conference that was happening. So it prompted a Seattle District Court to revoke SeaWorld's ability to capture whales in Washington State. It outlawed them, Don Goldsberry, Ted Griffin from capturing them, and they were forced to give up their permit to capture whales.
But there were these 6 that were sitting in a net pen that had been captured and sold.
Correct. So Ralph Monroe, as I've heard it told, did something. He went above and beyond. Right. He requested a copy of that federal permit and read the fine print. And in the fine print, it was said that you could not use explosives to round up the killer whales, and they had done so. The capture was deemed illegal, and the whales were released. Not all at once. 4 were released, including T46 right away.
And this took time. It wasn't like they were released the next day. I mean, they were
there for months.
Yeah, for months.
So those 4 were released, and then T13 and T14, mom and her presumed teenage son were fitted with radio tags, some of the first information about their kind of travel, and they were relocated up to San Juan Island and then released from there. But T46 showed up the following year with a calf, and so she had actually been pregnant at the time of the capture. So unknowingly, there were at least seven whales, and then she disappeared for 13 years. We didn't see her, and sure, she might have come through, but nobody had seen her or anything like that. And when she showed up 13 years later, she had 2 young juveniles in tow, T122 and T123, and they are presumed to be her daughters, right? They actually look like her. T122 stayed with T46 for T46's entire life. T123, she kind of split off when she started having her own kids, but acted just like a daughter would be. But because we didn't see them as newborns with T46, they were given the designation T122 and T123. But we do know that neither of them were that first calf that was seen with her. So likely she's had 3, offspring by the time she returned in 1989, and then started having more kids. So she had her last calf in 2012, but she's had T46B and T46C, and then D, E, and F, her 3 sons, and T46B and T46C were both females as well. So her, those are both having many offspring. T46B, I think, has 7 now, and only one of them is male. So she has 6 daughters.
So trace this back to T46 and look at how many whales, not just today, but in the future,
that
we are going to have because of this one event where this whale, instead of going to SeaWorld, was released back into the wild to procreate and look at all of the generations. And it just shows the meaning of one individual and how important one individual can be to a population. And that's any species. It can be like that. One individual can have such a profound legacy and impact on that population.
And I think right now, if I did my math correctly the other day when I was like tracing out her family tree on the boat, 25 living descendants right now.
Wow.
And
including
the new calf.
The brand new calf.
Mm-hmm. But, T46B3 has 3 younger sisters and a younger brother. And, hopefully they're going to be reproducing as well. And if they're as successful a mom as their grandmother and mother are,
think about what it's going to be like for us, right, in 10 years when we're telling this story on the boat.
Yeah.
How many whales they're going to be.
Yep.
It's absolutely, it's one of the best stories we have. It's just incredible. And there is a side note to this story and the new calf, because this new calf was apparently born either right before or right after
Ralph Monroe passed away. Yeah, first seen the day that he passed away.
Yeah. So if that doesn't make the hair on the back of your neck stand up, it's just incredible. And we'll post links to this made media all over the world because of the link to the captures and Ralph Monroe and his passing and the new calf within days. I mean, it's an incredible, the whole thing is just an incredible story.
Yeah. And they, like other members of that family have interesting stories. We talked about one of them, Sam, T46C2 with Jared. We talked about like finding and helping killer whales out of tight spots. She was the one that was up in that harbor by herself up on Central Coast, BC, and they, used the playbacks and tried to use the hukilau to get her out of the cove. And I just saw her a couple days ago. She's doing good.
Hangs out with her cousins.
Hanging out with her cousin.
Yeah.
And then, the T123s live stranded up in Prince Rupert back in 2011. So like, it's a very storied family. Toluque was a member of that family, who are leucistic killer whale. So just a really amazing family and such a legacy.
We'll post some family photos. Maybe I've got some video of the 123s with Toluque.
Yeah.
And then we'll post some photos of the brand new calf with the fetal holds in the show notes. So check those out on our website, afterthebreachpodcast.com.
But March kind of started out with the 46s. Like my first trip on the water, not with passengers, but when J1 came back from getting her winter work done, we had a report of killer whales right outside the harbor. So Monica met me down at the dock. You were
I was still in the Dominican Republic.
Yeah. Yep. And I was like, let's just like pop out and see what's going on. So we popped out and spotted one killer whale out at the bottom of Upright Channel, just outside Friday Harbor. And it turned out to be T46D Strider by himself. And we're like, where's the rest of his family? Because he travels, now with T122 and his 2 younger brothers, T46E and T46F. And we just kind of paused and we're waiting to see if more whales popped up. And he dove, and all of a sudden, Monica and I could hear him clear as day, vocalizing up through the hull of the boat.
We should post that video in the in the show notes.
It was unreal, and it's happened before, but it was very, very loud. It was like he was using us as a speaker, and then he would, pace up and down Upright Channel, and we get word from a friend of ours who's on the other side of Shaw Island, to the north side, and his 3 siblings are up there headed westbound really fast. And they like took off and they went north without him. But meanwhile, he's like pacing up and down Upright Channel, and at times we would be, in gear over 200 yards from him, and even without a hydrophone, I could hear him calling.
That's amazing.
Over the motors and everything.
Amazing.
So he eventually
got back.
Yeah,
but,
got back.
I mean, it makes you think. I mean, are they playing a game? I
don't think he liked it. If they did, poor buddy.
Yeah, just amazing. For sure, one of the highlights of the month was having them around.
Yeah.
The other highlight to me was, and it seems like this is a trend now every spring, is the 49As and the 19s.
The 19s, yeah.
And they sure do like to come down to this area and eat sea lions.
They sure do. And I think it was funny that one day we went out and we found 36A1s and 99B southbound in San Juan Channel. Remember this?
I do.
And then we, got down to Cattle Pass and Whale Rocks, and it was a little chunky, but it was fine. And they were kind of milling on a sea. They had killed a seal, which took them forever. And I would have, probably thought sea lion, but I saw them bring up the seal. And then 2 more whales popped up.
But they were very polite whales because they were kind of hanging off by almost a quarter mile, just waiting for them to finish their meal before they came in to join.
I didn't actually think they were going to join up, but they apparently did later. But the brothers, T30A and T30C, Sequoia and Salix.
Little guy.
Who Monica named both of those. And I hadn't seen them since 2017. They were our solar eclipse whales, Jeff, when you spilled coffee all over yourself.
Yes. Maybe we'll post that photo in the show notes. But the 30 brothers were around quite a bit in March.
Yeah, and I was shocked.
Yeah.
And then T30B, their sister, showed up with her kids.
They joined up a little bit.
Anyway, yeah. So back to this story this day. So 30A and 30C joined up, or kind of came into the zone. And we were like, well, let's, we've been with whales a bit. And we have word that there's another whale back by Friday Harbor. So we went and stopped and saw T49C, treadmilling in the current, kelping for, just long enough to get
10 minutes.
looks.
Yeah.
And
then it's like, okay, we've been with whales our whole tour. Let's go.
Yeah.
We've got to go see some more of the ecosystem out here.
And you were like, God, I just feel like we're going to find more whales like the T19s and 49As up by Greenport.
They're going to be around here somewhere.
Yeah. And so as we're coming up, you looked up and I was like a split second behind you and there were blows and dorsal fins up ahead. And I was like, oh, dang it, Jeff.
Yeah, I'm like, I got whales up there.
Yeah.
A lot of them.
So it was the 19s and 49As. You called it. And then they were with the 124As.
Yeah, your favorite.
Yep. I do love them.
But I think it's really neat that the 49As and the 19s hang out so much together. They spend so much time. And, you're so much better with the visual IDs on whales than I am. I mean, it's not even so much better. It's like, you do it and I don't. But to me, I really feel like there is some relationship between those two families because I do feel like there are resemblances between 49A1 and 19C and 19B and 49A2. Like there's to me, there's some genetic similarities in their the shapes of their dorsal fins. I wonder if maybe 49 and 18 could have been sisters, or there's some common link back there. The other interesting thing, and I thought about this when I was getting ready to write the outline for this episode, and I wanted to talk about the 49As and 19s and my no evidence theory that there's a relationship there. Correct me if I'm wrong, but the last time that we saw T18 was with the 49As. The families were together.
Yeah, you're absolutely
and then the
right.
families split.
Right north.
We were with the 49As, and you called out on the radio, and you're like, T18 just popped up next to them.
Yeah, we were right north of Turnpoint.
And she hasn't been. She was seen once
after that
in Campbell River, the next week or something, and has not been seen, as far as we know, has not been documented anywhere since.
Right.
Which doesn't necessarily mean she's
doesn't
gone.
Mean anything.
She's done. She apparently did that before. I think like 10 plus years ago. I think she left for a year.
Okay.
That's what I heard from Gary. But just interesting that when the family split, she was just popped up with the 49As, and then you didn't see her during that encounter. She had left.
Yeah, she took off to the north.
Yeah.
Yep.
It just feels to me like there's something significant about that as well. If she's leaving and going off to do whatever she was going to do, and made a last stop with the 49As.
Mm-hmm.
And that and the visual, the similarities in some of the dorsal fin shapes, to me, it screams there's a relationship there somewhere. And, I don't know if we'll ever know.
Probably not.
Probably not.
It's fun to wonder.
It is. And it is neat. Like, they do spend, they don't spend all their time together by any stretch.
A lot of their time in the spring.
Right. But there are certain times a year and that we see them.
And like, I would say even like geographically, like I would expect to see them together in the spring between Sandy Point on Waldron Island, Green Point, and Friday Harbor.
Absolutely.
Like Spiden Channel.
Totally.
Turn Point, kind of like this northern San Juan Channel.
We run into
Western
them a bunch.
Boundary Path.
Yeah, we run into them a bunch of times in our spring trips in that area. And I wonder when they're not in the Salish Sea and they're further north, like in Alaska, or if they're offshore, if it's the same thing, if they're if they're in the same region at the same time and they're just constantly coming together and splitting apart.
Yeah. I do feel like we see them, both of those families, kind of like heavier in the winter and fall and early spring. And then we kind of have like the height of summer. I don't really think about seeing them, though I have seen them on July 4th.
Yeah, that's the thing. And with both families, I think you can see either of those families.
Sure, any time
of year. The 18s, to me, kind of scream August. We see them a lot in August. And I know, and we see them during the winter. Those two families for sure are probably some of the two of the most commonly seen families on our tours year round.
Yeah.
That might be the next thing that we start tracking is who do we see the most? But I would bet that those two are up there. They're definitely top 5.
Yeah.
Used to be 65As, but they just fly by.
Like ghosts in the night. Ships in the night? I don't know. Ships in the night. Ships passing in the night.
One other cool thing that we did see, speaking of ships passing in the night, we did have, at least for a couple days here, we did have the Alaska boys, 125A and 128. I saw them once. They were trailing
in Sansom.
They were trailing in Saanich Inlet. They were trailing the 19s. They were like 3 miles behind them.
Oh, funny!
But cool to see them. I did see the 65As minus A5,
who has apparently gotten into more trouble.
Oh, I
didn't see the photo of him from yesterday.
I did not.
Somebody got a photo of him from down in the Sound because he's been in Puget Sound the last couple of days, and he is like all scuffed up on his dorsal fin. Looks like he got into some trouble with something, but he's out of he's out of trouble right now. No, it looks like rock rash or rope rash or something.
Oh, he's so funny.
So
we've got to get him on the podcast. We've got to find a way. With AI, someday with AI, we will get him on the podcast.
All right.
And then we did have one day with the 124Ds.
You did.
Yeah. The broader we.
Yeah. The colloquial we.
With T37A3.
Yeah.
What an interesting family they've become.
Well, he's kind of like, ever since Jack's summer camp 2 summers ago, I feel like T37A3 kind of has branched out and spends a lot of time away from the family.
Yeah, I think so too. It's just going to be interesting to see what.
But he bounces from family to family a lot, and he's kind of one of those whales that's like a little bit generic, not generic, but generic. Like you have to really see the eye patch or look at the scarring on the dorsal or on the saddle patch. He doesn't have any nicks or notches, and his fin's pretty falcated this age. He's not like, oh yeah, that's 37A3. Like you kind of have to think about it.
Right. We also saw the 69s, which I don't think of them as spring whales.
Yeah.
And they don't seem to stick around.
Fall whales.
Kind of, yeah. Late summer, early fall. They usually just kind of come cruising.
They were like our
our
Super Bowl whales one year.
Were they really?
Yeah, we were watching the game, and then there were whales, so we left and went out and watched whales instead.
Was I there?
Yeah.
But the 69s were my Campbell River whales, my first morning when I was in Gorge Harbor.
Yeah, no, I'm thinking of like 69Cs or Ds or something like that.
Oh, I do remember that.
Cs, maybe.
Yeah, I do remember that. That was in Spiden Channel.
Yeah.
I forgot about that. It was cold and windy.
It was very cold. Yeah.
So what are you hoping for this next month?
More whales. Always more whales. No, I would really love to see more of this calf. Like, I always feel like when there's a new calf, regardless of whose it is, I just like to see them multiple times in their first, like whenever, but especially in their first few months, because it's amazing to me how quickly they grow and how quickly they put on weight.
Yes. Yeah, and it will be cool to see because that calf is very lumpy.
Yeah, still pretty lumpy, but I mean, like, even between my 2 sightings of it, the 22nd and then just like last week, it's gained significant like weight. You can tell that it's already like a little bit chubbier.
Right. Would love to see the 99s and with 99B back in the mix. We did see 99B with the 36As.
And she's been with someone else. She was just seen the other day with someone.
But no calf. No calf
No
for
calf.
99B.
That's not uncommon for a first.
Well, and was it ever really confirmed that she was with a calf?
I mean, it's... Yeah, I think they did confirm, like, but it was just one brief encounter, and I think it was a pretty grainy photo. But yeah, I mean, it's listed, right? It's listed in FinWave. It's listed on the census. So
okay, well, not uncommon for the first.
Yeah, hopefully more to come from her, and I'd love to see like 36A1 with a new one. It's been a few years, and I'd like to see 36A1A with a little sibling.
Yeah, that would be nice. I'm looking forward to some humpbacks.
Mm-hmm.
I'd like to see Big Mama back here.
Yeah,
with a calf would be cool.
And
but even with that would be awesome.
It'll potentially be old news by now, but I think it bears
of course,
a mention.
Of course,
I'm a grandma now. No, J40 was seen with a calf on their recent, just a few days ago. They came into inland waters, and our friend Mark was out and saw J40 with what is presumed to be her first offspring, J63, which is really exciting. J40 is like my heart whale.
We should get Mark on the podcast.
We should. So I love that J40's got a kiddo now. They went north and have presumably been up there feeding on salmon.
Way up north.
Yeah, north in the Strait of Georgia. J's and K's both went north. So
awesome.
Yay for J63.
Yeah, they've been around in March quite a bit.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. We'll have to see. Like, really, so we had that conversation with Alexander Morton about the removal of those fish farms up north, and how it seems like wild salmon, have been in increased numbers. Like the chum runs in BC were up last year. I think the coho were as well. So it'll just be interesting to see if that continues. Like, it really kind of feels like maybe that's having a positive effect. But yeah, it's always important to like look for these new kind of like salmon restoration and salmon recovery projects that we can support on both sides of the border.
It'll be interesting to see if it has any impact on Fraser River Chinook.
Mm-hmm. So,
because that is the key.
It really is. Yep. So we're gonna have to see kind of how this plays out, of course, in the next few years with everything going on. But I'm gonna remain guardedly hopeful.
But it's a great time right now. I mean, there's a lot going on out here. Come on out with us with Maya's Legacy Whale Watching. Let them know when you book that you're a podcast listener, and Sara and/or I will be on your tour if we were able to do it. That'd be awesome. And yeah, let us know too if you like episodes like this that are a little bit shorter, and really focused on the latest sightings and stories of what we've been seeing. We'd love to get some feedback, and we have some great episodes coming up with some incredible guests. But we would also pop in an episode like this every month if this is something that you guys like. So
it's something I like.
It is something. Well,
I like.
Well, we like talking about whales.
We do.
So, but send us just a quick email, thumbs up if you like it, afterthebreachpodcast@gmail.com. And if you want to see some of these stories and live some of these stories for yourself, we have our 2-day, all-day weekend tour coming up May 17th and 18th. Send us an email if you're interested. We've got a few spots left for that, and we'd love to have you out here. It is really awesome. We spend all day on the water, both days, and
catered lunch.
We got great donuts in the morning.
See how many whales we can find.
And each day, I mean, you come for 2 days, and both the days are completely different.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just like they would be if you came out here on any 2 days. You're not going to see the same stuff. But no matter when you come on out with us. It's a great time.
And if May doesn't work, we have another one in September.
21st and 22nd?
Nope, 20th and 21st. But
close.
So, yeah, come out for one, come out for both. We would love to have you. It's very different month to month out here. And kind of like we've been talking about, different families tend to be around at different times of year. Sometimes they throw us for a loop and show up whenever they want, which is great. But yeah, I think our first one, we saw 30 something whales over the 2 days.
Oh yeah.
It was crazy.
Yeah, it was really incredible.
We would love to have you guys out.
And check out some of the photos and videos that we're going to put in the show notes. Get those on wherever you listen to the podcast, go to our website and you can see the photos. It's afterthebreachpodcast.com.
And if you guys have any topics that you'd like to hear us talk about, every once in a while someone emails me or messages me on social media and has a paper they've seen or a news headline that they want to hear us talk about. We always take those. And if we can get someone on to chat about it, we're happy to do so.
Absolutely. And share this with others. And no matter what you guys do, just remember,
stay safe out there. Thanks so much for listening to this episode of After the Breach podcast. If you've enjoyed it and want to help us out, please share this with your friends, family, and any other whale-loving folks you can think of. We would also love to hear your feedback, so please leave us a review wherever you listen to podcasts. If you have topics you're interested in and would like to hear on the show, please send us an email. We'd love to hear your thoughts. You can find us on Instagram as @AfterTheBreach and on Facebook as After the Breach Podcast. And if you'd like to go whale watching with us, then come on up to San Juan Island, Washington State. We run tours with Maya's Legacy Whale Watching, departing just steps away from the ferry landing in beautiful downtown Friday Harbor. It's a great destination for a day trip or multiple days and offers some of the best whale and wildlife viewing in the world. We would love to take you out on the water to see the amazing whales we talk about on our podcast. You can book a tour through the company website at www.sjiwhalewatch.com. And make sure to mention you're a podcast listener when you book. Thanks again for listening, and remember, stay safe out there.
Oh, we're still recording.
Hello.
Ahoy. Welcome to episode 41 of After the Breach podcast. We are your hosts, Jeff and Sarah.
And if you can't tell, it's already been a long day.
It's been a long day. Coming to you live